Right, here we are in Math 2. This is Math Unit 12B, or the second part of Unit 12, either Objective 12B3 or 12.7, depending on how your teacher set it up. We're looking today at the quadratic formula and also what a discriminant is. And we'll be utilizing this for our first set of problems here. This is something you just need to memorize here. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And this comes from looking at our quadratic equation right here and recognizing that the first number there is the a value, we have the b value, and the c value. Learning how to set this up so that we can plug it into that equation to find out what our solutions are going to be using the quadratic formula. So I'm going to do some samples here today, and like I said, I'm going to look at numbers 1, 5, 9 on the front, 12, 13, and 15 on the back side. So let's take a look at number 1 first off. So number 1, we have x squared minus 19x plus 70. So my formula for this, to use the quadratic formula, would again be negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that's where I'm starting from. So let's plug in our values. This is our a, this is our b, this is our c. So our negative b actually be a minus, and be careful here, we have a negative 19 plus or minus the square root of b squared is negative 19 squared minus 4 times my a value is 1, my c value is 70, all over 2 times my a value is 1. Alright, so I usually just kind of solve these out more horizontally, going out this way. So to move on here, negative and a negative makes us a positive 19 plus or minus the square root of 19 squared. Well, I'm not sure what 19 squared is, so I do a little bit of math there. 19 squared gives me actually 361. And then a negative 4 times 1 times a negative times a product times 70 gives me with 280. This is a minus 280 here, all divided by 2 times 1, which is just 2. So keep on moving down. We have 19 is plus or minus the square root of, and 361 minus 280 is actually 81 over 2. And I can find the square root of 81, which is 19 plus or minus 9 over 2. And at this point, just kind of some more math, I can break this into two parts, right? I can do 19 plus 9 divided by 2, and I could do 19 minus 9 divided by 2 for my two solutions. 19 plus 9 is 28 over 2, which equals 14. 19 minus 9 is 10 over, sorry, this would be 2 here, 10 over 2, which equals 5. So I end up with two solutions, a 14 and a 5 for that equation using the quadratic formula there. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's hold this down. Looking at number 5. Okay, so 5, we're going to want to rewrite this first of all. So we have x squared plus x, and I move the 132 over, minus 132 equals 0. So my a value is 1, my b value is 1, and my c value is negative 132. And that's what I'm using with my quadratic equation to solve number 5. So here's what it looks like. I do negative b, which is 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 1 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 132, all divided by 2 times a value, which is 1. And that's my setup. So from here, now it's a matter of just doing the math and solving it out. So I have negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared is 1, that's good, minus negative 4 times a negative 132 is actually going to give me a positive 528. Yeah, 528. Divide that by 2. So 528 plus 1 is actually 529. So negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 529 over 2. 529 sounds crazy, but if you use your calculator, what you find out is that you have -1 is plus or minus, the square root of 529 is actually 23 over 2. So now we can make this go two different ways, right? We have plus or minus, so we have -1 plus 23 over 2, and we also have -1 minus 23 over 2. So this becomes 22 divided by 2, which is 11, and this becomes -24 divided by 2, which is -12. And those become our two solutions for that equation for number 5. Let's take a look at number 9. Again, I have to move some things around a little bit. And so to rewrite this, I have 15x squared. I'm going to move the 40 over to have -40x plus 20 equals 0. So my A value is 15, my B value is -40, and my C value is 20. These are some rather large numbers, so I'm going to get somewhat of an annoying kind of problem, but it works out nicely in the end. So let's use those numbers to solve for, this is again number 9. Alright, so we have -b, which is already a -40, plus or minus b squared. So -40 squared minus 4 times a, which is 15, times c, which is 20, all over 2 times 15, 2a. Alright, so -40 and minus 40 becomes regular 40, plus or minus this thing. -40 squared is 1,600, minus 4 times 15 times 20 is actually 1,200, all over 30. Okay, so that's not too bad there. So end up with 40 plus or minus 1,600 minus 1,200 is 400, all over 30. The square root of 400 is actually 20, so we have 40 plus or minus 20 over 30, which then breaks into two solutions. 40 plus 20 is 60 over 30. 40 minus 20 is 20 over 30. 60 divided by 30 is a simple old 2, and 20 divided by 30 reduces down to 2/3. My two solutions for number 9. Again, it's just about getting the right A, B, and C values and plugging those things in. Okay, let's take a look at the back side now. Okay, I'm going to look at numbers 12, 13, and 15. What they're asking you to do on this side is to find out the number of solutions for each equation. Just the number. We're not actually solving it, just how many solutions you're going to have. To do that, what we're really needing to do, and all we have to do really, is essentially use the middle part of our quadratic equation, the b squared minus 4 times ac. And when we look at that part by itself, one of three things will happen. Either it will be a negative number, negative, and if it's negative, that tells us that, find this real quick here, make sure I tell you the right thing, I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. So when it's negative, we have no solution. If it ends up being equal to 0, we have one solution. And if we end up with a positive number, we end up with two solutions. Okay? So that's kind of how that's going to work there for us. A negative is a no solution, a 0 is one solution, and a positive is two solutions. Alright? So we take a look at number 12 first of all. We have our b squared. So negative 10 squared is 100 minus 4 times a is 1 and c is 1. So we end up with 100 minus 4, which equals 96. That is a positive number, and a positive number has two solutions. And that's all they're asking you to do is say how many solutions you're going to have. Down over here, number 13. Okay, so we have b squared, so 6 squared minus 4 times 3 times c, which is 8. And that becomes, 6 squared is 36. A negative 4 times a 3 times an 8 is actually negative 96. So I end up with a negative 60 as my answer. Because I have a negative number as my answer, this means there are no solutions. Okay? Number 15, I do need to slide that back over there, so I rewrite this as x squared minus 20x plus 100. So I'll rewrite it the correct way, and that becomes b squared, which is negative 20 squared, minus 4 times 1 times 100, which gives me a positive 400 minus a 400, which equals 0, which tells me I have one solution. And that's all they're asking you to do on that section there, to find the number of solutions. Again, positive is 2, 0 is 1, and negative is no solutions. All right, hope that helps you out a little bit with your work today.